Welcome back to the soon-to-be award-winning Student of the Gun radio program. And I am your host, Professor Paul Markel. Thank you for joining us on a Thursday, one more day to the weekend. And for all of you public broadcast listeners, this is the last one of the week. If you're a grad program member, you're going to get one tomorrow. So congratulations.
If you're a public, hey, I'm your co-host, Jared Markle. And if you are a public subscriber, if you don't subscribe to the grad program and you want to get the Tactical Tutor newsletter for February, go to studentofthegunradio.com, click on the little +1 bonus image there on the right-hand side of the pictures, and sign up, and you will get the February issue of the Tactical Tutor, which deals with, what was it?
Situational awareness.
Yeah, situational awareness, and Dad actually wrote it, and he used a real-life scenario, and he takes that scenario, and he gives you learning points to learn from, and,
it's kind of like a parable, only real.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, folks, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you guys being out there, young and old. We know that there are young folks listening. Do your homework, study hard. There's lots of people on welfare that are going to be needing your tax dollars in the very near future. So you need to get to work and do that. For those of you that are on the treadmill, give me 10 more minutes. And those of you that are driving, 10 and 2. We know a lot of you commute while you're listening to Student of the Gun Radio.
What if they're walking? Pick up the pace.
Pick up the pace. All right. We wanted to go ahead and address a question that came to us from the Student of the Gun mobile app. If you guys have got the mobile app, you know that you can leave messages for us on the mobile app. You can post personal messages or questions or what have you. And the reason we wanted to do it on the radio forum is because it's probably something that more than one person is curious about. And that's about short-barreled rifles or Class 3 items. It was 1934, the Gun Control Act, or the National Firearms Act of 1934. That was when your great-grandparents, our great-grandparents, or the great-grand ancestors of those of us today, decided that there's just too much murder and rape and robbery and killing and so forth going on in the United States. And the way to fix that was to do a national gun law. And unfortunately, the NRA, because NRA existed back then, and quote-unquote reasonable citizens went along with it, didn't fight it, didn't say no. The elected representatives, they didn't call the representatives or write letters to the representatives and tell them, no, we're not going to do that. That violates the Second Amendment of the Constitution. There's nowhere in the Constitution does it say, it's not the liberal version that says, oh, well, this thing is just for hunting, or when guns get super scary, you'll know to ban those. So anyway, thanks to the National Firearms Act, which was essentially a jobs program to put all the federal agents who were going out of business or out of work because the repeal of prohibition, to put them to work. Well, what happened? Well, they decided to come up with new classifications of firearms. Back in the 1900s and the 1920s and up till 1934, you just had guns. And they were guns. It was a gun, or it was a gun, or it was a gun. Well, then they decided, no, we have to have special classifications of guns. And you peasants out there, you peasants can't be trusted with these really super scary guns. So they couldn't, even back then, they knew that they couldn't just blanket make them illegal in 1934. They couldn't just say, well, we're going to make these illegal. What we're going to do is we're going to reclassify them, and you're going to have to get special government permission in order to own them. So you'd think, if you're a thinking person, you'd say, well, if these were so dangerous and so terrible and so bad that the world, the nation was going to come to a screeching halt, the world was going to end if we don't stop them, why not just make them illegal? Well, because lots of people had them. Thousands upon thousands of people had these guns. And they said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to reclassify them. So you could still own it. People in America today, your left-wing news ninnies and your people that inhabit these great populous areas, that just listen to the daily news, they think that owning a fully automatic weapon in America is illegal. And they do news stories. Did you know that it's legal to own a machine gun in America? What? That can't be possible.
Yeah, that's why there's so many mass shootings with machine guns. Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Or they think that just because the gun looks a certain way, that that a semi-automatic AK is a machine gun, or that an AR-15 is a machine gun, or whatever. Well, the question came to us about short-barreled rifles, or more commonly known as an SBR. An SBR under the NFA is a Class 3 item, and you're allowed to own one. We'll give you permission as long as you fill out the paperwork and give us $200 to transfer it, a transfer tax, and we'll give you a special permission slip that has a really nice stamp on it, a really nice tax stamp. And you have to keep that with you at all times, and otherwise you'll be a criminal. Unless, who's exempt from that, Jared?
The state is exempt from that. And if you don't know what SBR stands for, it stands for Super Battle Rifle.
Oh, Super Battle Rifle?
Yeah, Super Battle Rifle.
No.
Do you want me to read the question? It actually stands for Short Barreled Rifle.
Yeah,
but
go ahead and read the question verbatim.
Okay, the question comes from Stephen Ferguson, and I'm doing my hand motion in a cross form for you for having the last name Ferguson. If you need a bodyguard, I'm for hire. He says, quick question on SBR tax stamp. If I buy a serialized lower receiver only, can I get a tax stamp for that as an SBR without completing the build yet? Then slowly over the year buy the parts to complete the build. And Stephen, like Dad said before, he submitted that on the SOTG mobile app that you can get on the Google Play Store or the iTunes App Store.
Yeah, for free, thanks to Century Arms. Okay, the answer to this is, to my knowledge, and I'm not a Class 3 dealer, I'm not an ATF agent, but to my knowledge, you can do that because it's the serialized component is what actually makes it what it is. You have to register that serial number as a short-barreled rifle. Now, be that as it may, and that is my belief, things do change. The ATF has a tendency to reverse themselves and change their minds. I know, that's your shocked face, right? So this is the advice I'm going to give you guys. If you're looking to buy your first Class 3 item, whether it's a short-barreled shotgun, a short-barreled rifle, a suppressor, what have you, a legally transferable machine gun, and there are those out there, but they have been made before 1986, because that was another gun control bill that we decided to put through because the peasants just couldn't be trusted. So what I would do, wherever you happen to be in the world, find a Class 3 dealer. It might be kind of difficult depending on where you are geographically, but find a Class 3 dealer and schedule time to sit down with them and talk with them. The guy that we've got here, Daryl at Dad's Super Pawn in Gulfport, he's the only Class 3 dealer. They're the only Class 3 dealers in the county that I live in. But very knowledgeable, very helpful. I mean, hopefully you'll have the same experience that I have. They're able to walk you through all the paperwork and so forth. And that's really what you're paying them for the most part, because, I mean, when they transfer a gun, they help you transfer a gun. You need to pay them for their service because you can't just buy it and have a company ship it to you. It has to go to a licensed dealer, and then they transfer it to you, complete the paperwork and all that jazz. But sit down with a Class 3 guy and say, hey, this is what I'm planning on doing, or this is what I want to do, because you're going to have somebody to work the paperwork for you, to do the paperwork for you. And it's going to be your Class 3 guy. So sit down with them, ask them the questions. Hopefully you'll have a good experience like we did, because they should, I mean, let's face it, if they do this for a living, they should be very, very knowledgeable. And most of them have a direct line to their designated ATF agent. I know that the guys at Daryl at Dad's, he has a phone number, and if he has a question about whatever, and they can actually call and say, hey, this guy filed his paperwork, in September of 2014 and still hasn't gotten his suppressor, his tax stamp back yet. What's the story? I had that deal personally when I was trying to transfer a simple little 22 suppressor. And it was taking months and months and months and months and months. And Daryl called and he said, "Hey, this is the application number, blah, blah, blah. What's the status?" And they told him, they said, 2 to 4 weeks. Okay, thanks a lot. But that is my question. If you're curious about Class 3 stuff, if you want to own that, go ahead and get with a Class 3 dealer. And like you said, that may be the way to do it, to just go ahead and register a lower receiver and then build it up as you go. You want to before we get into the meat or the heart of this, we want to thank all of our sponsors who make it so that we can actually come before you 4 days a week now instead of just one. And that would be Brownells at brownells.com. If you have a gun, Brownells has something for you. Velocity triggers. If you've got an AR-15 or a black rifle, you want to put a new trigger in it, or you need some pins and parts, go to velocitytriggers.com. Check those guys out. SWAT Fuel. Yesterday, we talked about SWAT Fuel, and we did the SWAT Fuel Fitness Talk moment. But you know what we didn't do, Jared? We didn't hit on the promo code. If you go to swatfuel.com, you want to make a purchase, make sure that you enter the promo code SOTG2014, and you're going to save yourself 20% off your total order. Make sure you want to do that. Colt at Colt.com, and of course, XS Sights, the fastest sights in any light, and what Jared was referring to yesterday, and I didn't talk about, but we talked about earlier in the week that XS Sights are going to be featured in an upcoming video game called Battlefield Hardline. So congratulations to those guys. All right, Jared, you want to talk? There's no lead-in theme here. We're just going to go ahead and do it. And this story came to us from Buzz Poe.
Real quick, before we go any farther, I want to announce the winner of the Velocity Trigger. He just
very good. Very good.
Yeah, he just confirmed. So Dustin Bond out of Florida, he won the Velocity Trigger for being a subscriber to Student of the Gun newsletter. And if you want to be a subscriber, if you're not already, go to studentofthegun.com, and then you can click on the little yellow button there on the right side, and it tells you what all you get when you sign up. So do that.
Very cool. Congratulations to Dustin, and happy shooting. All right, this main story, it says potential mass shooting stopped by customer carrying a concealed handgun. What? That never happens. Didn't the sandwich maker tell us that concealed carry people are delusional and there's no evidence that carrying concealed handguns stops violence or prevents violence or anything like that? I'm pretty sure that's what our sandwich maker said. But and don't expect to see this on your local nightly news, because this is a positive pro-gun story and they really don't like those. But it comes to us from BuzzPO or BuzzPo. I always want to say pro.com. It's been shared on several different websites, but this is just the story link that we have. Dateline, Houston, Texas. A potential mass shooting was just stopped at a West Side Mien Tay Quan restaurant by a customer who was trying to enjoy his dinner. The incident happened Sunday night at approximately, and this is a previous Sunday as you hear this, 10:45 p.m. when a disturbance allegedly broke out inside. One of the parties involved left the restaurant to go to his vehicle and retrieve a handgun. Apparently there wasn't a plastic sign there. As he approached the restaurant's entrance, he began wildly discharging the weapon, shattering the restaurant's front glass door. Upon seeing that, a customer identified as Anthony Yet, Y-E-T, who allegedly, I love how they put allegedly, he allegedly works as an investigator for the Harrison County Attorney's Office, pulled his own concealed carry handgun to engage the dangerous suspect. As the suspect advanced forward through what was left of the front door, he was quickly greeted by several high-velocity lead projectiles. I like that little graphic language they threw in there. Thankfully, Yet's bullets found their mark, fatally wounding. Jared, do you always find that weird how they say fatally wounded?
Yeah, why don't they just say killed?
Then they get to use two words instead of one. Fatally wounding the middle-aged man. Police also said that none of the other 20 customers in the restaurant were injured. Although we don't know what the suspect's motives were or intentions, he was recklessly firing a handgun. Well, when you pull out a gun and you start shooting it into an occupied building, I really don't care what your intentions are. I just know what you're doing and know that you need to be ventilated, which is what happened in this situation. He was engaged, blah, 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 blah. It's fair to say that this could have been potentially a mass shooting had it not been for a good guy with a gun. Well, duh and yes and go team moment. You know what we should have done? We should have bumped that with a go team moment. But fantastic. A concealed carrier, a guy who's just sitting in a restaurant, eating his dinner, pulls out his gun and stops a whack job from shooting the people in the restaurant. And
that never happens, though.
That never happens.
We might as well just not even carry our guns.
Yeah, you're just the chances of you dying with your own gun are 1,000 times more, or whatever made up bullcrap statistics the moms and the Nanny Bloombergs and what have you. Did you know that having a gun in the home, it makes you like 150 times more likely to commit suicide, because apparently the gun will make you commit suicide. And did you guys know that up till the invention of gunpowder, that suicide did not exist on planet Earth? Did you know that? You mean it did? But according to Nanny Bloomberg and his mayors, his criminal mayors and the sandwich makers, the reason that people are able to commit suicide is because of guns. And if we eliminate the, quote, easy access to firearms, then we will reduce suicides in the world. Because apparently people never offed themselves before the invention of gunpowder.
Or if, I was just going to say, if people would, I think that if they would...
Get it together, kid.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to put this without...
Do you need some ginkgo biloba, or are you just trying to keep it rated PG?
Yeah, that. I'm trying to keep it rated PG. If we would stop criticizing our military for some of the things that they do, I think that there would be less suicides. It doesn't have anything to do with guns.
Oh, well, yeah. But folks, go team moment in Texas, even in Houston, which is good. Houston is this weird, I don't know, Houston. You've got Sheila Jackson Lee, and you got all kinds of insanity and stupidity coming out of Houston, but it still is in the Republic of Texas, so people can carry guns. And I'm just going to go on record and say, if you are in Houston and you are a good guy, you should be carrying a gun. It's just a prudent thing to do. Folks, believe it or not, I don't want to come before the Black Carbon Steel microphone and talk about psychological terrorism being inflicted on our children in the schools. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about good things, happy things. But I can't ignore this. It has to be discussed. This point has to be driven home, because we're either going to correct this, we're going to bail out the ship, or the ship is going to sink. We just can't ignore the holes in the hull. The ship is sinking, and we're either going to ignore it at your peril. You can just keep pretending that it's not happening, or you can do something about it. But pretending that it's not happening is not going to keep the ship from sinking. And the ship of public education, the ship of primary school education in the United States it's full of holes, and it's sinking fast. And you know what time it is. It's time for a public school terror theme update.
When we grew up and went to school, there were certain teachers who would let the children any way.
You're not going to believe this one. If you don't have the duct tape out, you might want to grab it. This comes to us from yahoo.com/parenting. This is their parenting forum. Fourth grader suspended for Lord of the Rings magic. I'm sorry, excuse me, what now? Fourth grader suspended for Lord of the Rings magic. And Jennifer O'Neill made us aware of this. The story is dateline February 2nd, 2014. It says, a 9-year-old boy who boasted to a classmate that he could make him vanish has disappeared himself from school. Fourth grader Aiden Stewart was suspended from his elementary school in Kermit, Texas on Friday, one day after making the alleged, get this is a quote from the suspension, terroristic threat, as the Odessa American describes it.
This is the second school in Texas this week that we've talked about.
As it describes it, promising to render another child invisible with his fictional One Ring from J.R.R. Tolkien's fantasy series, The Lord of the Rings. It sounded unbelievable, Dad Jason Stewart said to the New York Daily News, maintaining that his son didn't mean anything by it. Well, of course he didn't mean anything by it. The kid is 9 years old. Aiden and his family had gone to see The Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies, the weekend before, and his father says his son was innocently playing make-believe because kids act out movies that they see. When I was a kid, I watched Superman and I went outside and tried to fly, Stewart said. I assure you that my son lacks magical powers necessary to threaten his friend's existence. If he did, I'm sure he'd bring him right back. Oh, sweet censor Buddha on a rubber raft. But check this out. The story continues, but Principal Roxanne Greer didn't see the charm in Aiden's supernatural pretending and issued the disciplinary action. The father said Greer told him that the threats to another child's safety would not be tolerated, even if they were make-believe.
Zero tolerance, people. This is what zero tolerance gets you.
The administrator declined comment, insisting all student stuff... What? Hold it. This is a quote. It says the administrator declined to comment, insisting all student stuff is confidential. The administrator used the word stuff.
All student stuff is that's the most professional language I've ever heard.
Oh, no, here we go.
We're just not up to date yet.
All student stuff is confidential, Kermit Independent School District Superintendent Bill Boyd, period. Then did not return requests for comment. The Texas Education Code, however, mandates. Folks, I'm so pissed off by this. I can't even see straight. Mandates that this type of mandatory leave not exceed 3 days. So Aiden should be back at school this week. Hey, Aiden's dad. If you send your kid back to this school, you are wrong, like something that I can't say on the public hour. We probably should have saved this one for tomorrow so I can say.
That's okay. We've got a better one for tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
I can't wait to do that one.
And you say, Paul, BFD, I don't live in Kermit, Texas. And this is just
happening everywhere.
And this is just one isolated incident. So a 9-year-old child is playing make-believe. And that is a terroristic threat now. Wow. I'm so depressed by this. I'm so depressed that this came out of Texas. I don't even know what to say. Oh, Lord in heaven. Well, let's move on. There's something else. There's another public school update. Let's
Wait. Did you read the sentence that says Aiden has experienced 2 in-school suspensions already this school year?
For what? Terroristic threats?
One for referring to a fellow student as black. Yeah.
For referring to the kid
as black.
Saying the word black.
Yes. Saying the word black. Mm-hmm. Even though black people called themselves black.
What history month is this?
It's Black History Month. Wow. Yeah. Anyway.
Do what now?
Maybe. Oh, so that school doesn't recognize blacks. So they don't
recognize Black History Month?
There we go. And the other for bringing the big book of knowledge to school, which his teacher reportedly had an issue with because of its illustrations of a pregnant woman. He got in-school suspensions for those 2 things, and he's still going to the school.
Well, yeah, here's the deal. Mr. Stewart, you're a bad parent. What? How dare you? How dare you say that? If this is the third time your child has been terrorized by this school system and you let it keep happening, you deserve it. Your kid doesn't deserve it. Your kid doesn't deserve to be terrorized by these people, by these Nazis, these public school freaking Nazis. But apparently, Mr. Stewart and his wife, or I guess he has a wife, I don't know, maybe he has another husband. You are cowards. Get your freaking kid out of this school. If you are part of the Kermit school system, go ahead and Google Maps Kermit and tell me what it's adjacent to. $100
Probably Houston.
It's adjacent to some crap hole. Get your kids out of this school. You don't understand. I can't. It's not that easy. I can't. No, it's not that you can't. It's that you don't want to, because it would inconvenience you. It would make your life inconvenient, and you can't have that. But that's okay. Just pretend that nothing is happening. Pretend that nothing is happening. Let's move up to the Great White North in Minnesota, where we already know that they have frozen ice crystals on their brains.
It's actually kind of far away. It's not.
Is it out in the middle of nowhere?
No, it's like right on the corner of New Mexico. Odessa, Midland, those are the two. Lubbock is close. Well, kind of close. Lubbock's far away.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's
all
weird.
right.
I would have never guessed.
Here we go. Minnesota.cbslocal.com. CBS Minnesota. Anoka Hennepin schools may start depression screenings. Excuse me? Well, I don't think I will.
What does that even mean?
Dateline, Minneapolis. Minnesota's largest school district is discussing screening high school students for depression and anxiety in the classroom as a part of a state grant to improve mental health services.
So there's your money.
So here we go. We've got some money, and we got apparently...
How can we spend this money? Because if we don't spend it, we won't get it next year.
That's right. We got to spend this money. And apparently in the United States of America, we have lots and lots of extra money.
We do. You just print it and it's
extra. How many $1 trillion
extra.
are we in debt
Well,
right
that doesn't
now?
matter.
Oh, okay.
We can just print that and pay.
Yeah. We got all kinds of extra money. As a part of a state grant, which is your tax dollars, to improve mental health services, Anoka Hennepin schools could offer screenings as soon as next fall. Now, it says in the classroom. Dr. Nita Kumar, a mental health consultant for the district, said Friday that the idea is to get students to talk about something they may hide from their parents and not even understand what is happening. Holy jumping dog snot, folks. This right here, if this is not Orwellian, I don't know what is. In that sentence,
if you don't know what
right
Orwellian
there,
means,
yeah, you need to educate yourself.
Yeah, just George Orwell. Look him up.
That sentence right there should send shivers up the spine of every parent in America. Trying to get them to talk about something they may hide from their parents and not even understand what's happening. This is you didn't even know that you were being abused until we told you. I had no idea that my parents were unfit and abusive until I was told by my school counselor. Apparently they are. I didn't even remember being abused until my school counselor, my school mental health consultant, sat down and helped me to realize that I was being abused by my unfit parents. Because what do we know? We know that the children don't belong to the parents, that they belong to the state. And that the state
students
only allows the parents to house them and to feed them. And the state will tell the parents what they are allowed to send them for lunch. And if the state sees that the lunch that was sent from home is not the appropriate lunch, well, they're just going to go ahead and throw it in the garbage and charge the kid for a school lunch. And if the parents have guns at home, we need to know that. Jared, Where have we seen this kind of psychobabble before? Did we not just have a story about the kid, the public, what was that, Center for Psychobabble Analysis, where they did the PSA with the kid stealing a gun from his mother and taking it to school,
taking it into the school,
and turning it into the teacher? And what did we say? What was the assertion there? Is that the representative of the state, the teacher, who is a representative of the state, knows far better than your parents what is good for you and what is not good for you. You know, your parents may be putting you in mortal danger by keeping guns in the home. We need to talk about that, Jimmy. We need to talk about whether or not you feel safe in a home where your parents have guns. Folks, this is 100% straight out of the liberal progressive playbook.
$370,000.
They're going to spend $370,000 to convince your high school students.
Why don't you purchase
that they have mental issues that they don't even know about?
Take that $370,000, purchase The Political Thought of the American Revolution, and he's over there shaking his little doll. And you know, when you shake that thing and then you look at it, it does make you happy.
It does make you happy.
Anyway, so take that $370,000, buy a copy for each student. You could do that with $370,000.
You can give one to every kid in the state, probably.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. How much were they?
I don't know.
You can't get them anymore.
You can't get them out. They're out of print. Thank God they're out of print. We can't have kids reading that. We can't have them reading that.
That's one of the projects that I'm working on, is trying to get either the rights or something so we can either do an ebook of that or an audio book or both.
Well, you just have to Harcourt, Brace, and
I'm already in contact with them. I'm talking back and forth.
Okay, cool. Rock on. So we just, this just another isolated incident, not a big deal. You know, you crazy people on Student of the Gun Radio, you're always trying to point out that, that there's some kind of conspiracy or something. It's just one single isolated incident times 1,000.
Yeah. Here's the deal. I could talk to any high school student right now and they could come to me and say, "Hey, little Johnny over here punched me in the face and kicked me in the balls," and I could convince that high school student that it was their fault that person did that.
You could do that?
Yeah. And so what are the mental health screeners? What are they going to put in these students' heads?
They got, better than $250,000 to spend to convince your kids that their parents are bad and that the state is good. That's no big deal, no sweat. Just keep on letting it happen. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. Maybe you could do since we're talking about schools, this story actually came out right before Christmas, and because it came out right before Christmas, I'm going to assume that a lot of you are probably not aware of it, because you're out buying cheap made-in-China garbage and gadgets to wrap up with shiny paper to give to your kids and spouses and family and so forth. But this comes from the telegraph.co.uk. Taliban kill more than 100 children in Pakistani school attack. Pakistani Taliban disguised as army attack. Pakistani Taliban disguised as army.
Attack.
As the army, or as army soldiers, or what? As army attack school in Peshawar, northwest Pakistan, leaving 141 dead, most of them pupils, in the country's worst attack in years. Sadly, it doesn't say worst attack in history. Worst attack in years. So here we've got representatives. We have basically Muslim missionaries. Sorry about that. Muslim missionaries who go into a school and just gun down 141 people, most of them children. And it does say Pakistan's bloodiest ever terror attack. The overwhelming majority of the victims,
141 people,
were students.
Almost all of them children.
Yeah. So that's your Muslim missionaries right there at work, hard at work, spreading the religion of peace, love, and tolerance. They're in Pakistan. Now, the reason I mention this is, A, because probably most of you did not hear about it. This is not something that the Communist News Network or MSNBC or any, they're not going to promote this. They're not going to spend a lot of time talking about it because it doesn't fit their worldview, their progressive worldview. And you might actually think that Muslims are not good people. You might think that jihadists and the prophets of Islam are not good people. If you read this story and are aware of it, you might actually you might be kind of down on that. And we can't have that. We can't have that. You might think that they're not the religion of peace and love and tolerance.
It's like it kind of reminds me of Beslin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But so what do we got now? Well, we've got a follow-up story that actually just came out on 2/2/2015, February 2nd. From this is weird. I'm having to talk about this again. The link that was shared with me was an AOL.com link. I didn't even know they still existed.
Well, you ask and you shall receive.
Yeah, no kidding. Ask and you shall receive. Pakistani teachers arming themselves in wake of school massacre. So nothing like closing the barn door after the horse is out. But it says now the funny thing is this, the article is from Ashif Shahzad. Is dated February 2nd, 2015, but as you go down into the body of it, it says, this Tuesday, January 27th, Pakistani teacher holds a weapon during a 2-day training session by the police in Peshawar. And what I'm going to say is this, bless their hearts for trying. I mean, bless their hearts. I'm looking at these pictures, and these pictures are scary.
Yeah.
If you're like a gun person, they're sitting there and they're like pointing guns at themselves, pointing guns at pointing the guns across the table at people. It's no big deal. They're not loaded. You don't have to worry about it.
Finger on the trigger.
Oh yeah, they do the typical gun show.
But
pick
they're
up
trained.
the gun, put their finger on the trigger immediately. But what do you expect? What do you want, Jared?
Proficiency?
No, come on, no. So in Pakistan, they've come to the realization that they might actually want to make responsible adults, or make adults responsible for the protection of the children in the schools.
So we've got, in Pakistan here, we've got women that want to arm themselves and protect themselves. And then here in America, we've got women that want to disarm everybody.
Yep. That's pretty much it.
Since that makes sense.
That's pretty much it because, why don't they, maybe in Pakistan they don't have all the canned goods. They might not have canned peas and canned, succotash and squash and stuff. Maybe they should take the liberal tactic of arming these teachers with canned goods. So, you want to see something? Did you see there's one picture? It looks like this Pakistani teacher is using her iPhone to take pictures of the dude while he's giving him the instruction. That's funny. They probably get iPhones pretty cheap over there because they're right next door to China. They probably get them, they're probably black market and they come across the border. But
And she said they asked whether she felt confident of killing a terrorist at her school. And this chick, her name is Tabinda. She said...
She was emphatic in her reply.
Yeah, she was emphatic in her reply. And she said, yes, whoever kills innocents, God willing, I will shoot them.
Inshallah.
So we've got teachers talking about God.
Inshallah. Well,
Pakistan.
not real God. They just translated inshallah into English.
Inshallah.
Yeah. But hey, rock on. There might be hope. Oh, it says one of them was issued a weapon, a Pakistani-made weapon. Ooh, that's kind of scary. That is semi-automatic with a 7-bullet clip.
Ooh. Is it a legitimate clip?
I don't know. It has a 7-bullet clip. No, it's the basically it's the Tokarev pistol that she's holding. Because I guess the short
TP9.
Yeah, it's whatever, the TT something, but it has a 7-bullet clip. Well, rock on. Fresh from her 2-day course, she unloaded Oh, here we go. Fresh from her 2-day course learning to load, unload, and fire a Glock 9mm handgun, Tabinda said her family had already suffered enough from Taliban terrorism, including her husband's wounding from a suicide bomb strike years ago. He is still carrying shrapnel in his stomach from the attack. You know, folks, I really wish... What?
This dude, provincial president of all Teachers Association, Muzamal Khan, said students already were scared by the increased security measures, and seeing their teachers armed would increase anxiety unnecessarily. He said government authorities should take responsibility for defending schools from terrorism. Pens belong in our hands, not guns, Khan said.
Oh, wow. So they have left-wing liberal puke faces over there. That's right. It's not your responsibility. It's the responsibility of the state, because apparently the state will always be there to protect you, just like they were in Peshawar when terrorists walked in and gunned down 141 children. Where was the government then? I'll tell you where they were. They were gathering their forces outside of the school and trying to figure out what they were going to do. Here's the bottom line. And I don't think you let me get to the bottom line yesterday, but there's the bottom line, folks. In a school shooting, in a mall shooting, in a church shooting, in whatever kind of attack, what kind of illegal behavior, the only people that are going to be able to make a significant difference are those that are present when it begins. The police officers down the street, across the way, parked over at, they're not going to be able to make a significant difference in the outcome. They will surround the building. Maybe they'll catch the bad guys. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll free some hostages. Maybe they won't. But when it comes down to it, the only people that are going to be able to effectively do anything about it are the people that are there when it kicks off, when it starts, when it begins. And that is teachers. If they got armed security guards, rock on. But the fact of the matter is, a 5-minute response time from local police is not going to help you when a guy walks through the door and pulls out a gun and starts shooting kids. Oh, the cops will be here in 5 minutes. 5 minutes are going to be 100 people dead. So, folks, I don't know how we can't learn this lesson, why it's so difficult. If it's cognitive dissonance, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of cognitive dissonance.
It takes effort to actually acknowledge
and
that
you
there's
have to
evil.
admit that there's a problem.
Yeah. So one last thing, I want to say one last thing before we go. And so since tomorrow on the grad program, we're going to be talking about gender. I think that we've got a case of gender confusion over here in Pakistan, because we've got the dude, his quote is, "Pins belong in our hands, not guns." And we got the chick saying, "I hit them right in their hearts." So, yeah.
Rock on, man. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't take control of your schools will control you. It's up to you. Do you want the schools to brainwash your children, to control your children, to own your children, or do your children actually belong to you? Do your kids still actually belong to you, or do they belong to the state? Apparently, the state thinks that they belong to them, and they're going to take steps to ensure that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a grad program member, we will talk to you tomorrow. If you're a public hour listener, we will be back with you on Monday. Until then, have a great weekend, and remember, you're a beginner once, but you should indeed be a student for life.